ay pwedeng mapanood to in YouTube. Okay, so once again, good afternoon to everybody, and I'm happy that you are able to log into our Zoom session. And as I have mentioned, today we shall be discussing visuals and visual media. Now, why is it important that you guys know what visuals and visual media are? Well, one of the most common, if not no, the most common learning or instructional material that are being used in the actual implementation of a lesson plan by teachers are visuals and visual media. Okay? Ano ibig ko sabihin? Well, you have experience already having your practice teachers do their demonstration teaching to you, right? Do their final demonstration teaching to you. And you have noticed that some of your teachers really are preparing so much during their final demonstration, 'di ba? Magaganda yung mga lessons nila, magaganda yung mga learning instructional materials na ginagamit nila. So they prepare so well. They prepare so much to the point that they are overreacting. Okay, they're overreacting to the instructional material development. Like gumagamit sila ng sequins, feathers, abaka, or glitters in their instructional materials, o kaya naman ay pinupuno nila yung blackboard. Okay, pinupuno nila yung blackboard ng mga postings nila, which is entirely should not be the case. Okay? Always remember that the choice or the way we make our instructional material should be dependent on our objectives. Kung napakaraming materials na ginagamit mo pero hindi naman siya nagiging effective, useless. There are only two things that you have to understand or remember in the selection and construction of your instructional materials. One is appropriateness to your objectives. Okay? Appropriateness to your objectives. Two, if it's effective. Okay? If it's effective in reinforcing the learning of your students. Do glitters, sequins, feathers, abaka, or whatever decorations you have there would reinforce the learning of your students? Hindi, di ba? They will be uh they will be amazed siguro na maganda yung nakikita nila, pero in its essence, nagiging epektibo ba o nakakatulong ba itong material na ito para ma-deliver mo ng tama yung lesson? Para maipahatid mo sa mga estudyante mo yung gusto mong sabihin sa kanila. Okay? So with the help of visuals and visual media, we could actually deliver the information to our students. Okay? So, what are visual media? No, what are visuals? What are visuals? Well, visuals are anything like pictures. Okay, they are anything like pictures that is used to make something more appealing or easier to understand. Okay, pwedeng drawing, pwedeng photograph, pwedeng sketch, pwedeng diagram, pwedeng chart. Pero may pagkakaiba itong mga ito, no, na pag-uusapan natin mamaya. Ano ang iba't ibang klase ng visuals na pwede natin gamitin sa loob ng klase. So they serve its own purpose. Meron silang sariling purpose. Okay, yung mga visuals na pag-uusapan natin mamaya. Okay? So visual media can refer to images, pictures, and graphic organizers that are being used in the classroom. Okay? So it is important, guys, that while we appreciate the use of visual media, we have to understand that some students will have difficulty in understanding your visual media. Why? Because they do not have visual literacy. Okay? They are not visually literate. So pag sinabi nating visually literate, these people are able to understand the visual media. When they see a table or when they see a chart, a pie chart, for example, or a bar graph, for example, they know what that visual is trying to explain to them. They know what that pie graph is trying to send to them. If you are able to do that, you are a visually literate individual. But if not, na kailangan mong may isa pang tao na mag-explain sa'yo kung anong sinasabi ng picture na ito, o anong sinasabi ng graph na ito, anong sinasabi ng chart na ito, doon tayo nagkakaroon ng problema sa pagiging visually literate. And it's important, guys, that as we proceed with our lesson, no, because we are teachers, no, and we're not only teaching our lesson, our content, but we must also teach our students how to learn, learning how to learn, teaching them how to learn, and exploring activities or using activities that would facilitate their visual literacy could actually help them learn how to learn. Okay, where they are able to make their own graphic organizers, where they can where they can summarize their lesson through graphic organizers. That's a very good learning style, no? That's a very good study habit, no? And we can only do that. Okay, students can only do that if they have a very good foundation in visual literacy. Okay, so Christopherson actually defined or characterized students who are visually literate. No, number one, they're able to interpret skills, understand and appreciate the meaning of visual images. Like when they see the painting of Vincent van Gogh, yung Starry Starry Night painting niya, no, anong naibibigay na mensahe nito sa kanya? No one is telling you what the image is. No one is telling you what the painting is all about. But when you are able to feel the sadness, okay, the the chaos of emotions of Vincent van Gogh in his piece of art, Starry Starry Night, then you can say that you have a sort of visual literacy. Because even without someone telling you what the meaning of the image is, but the message is felt by you, but the message is being thrown to you, even without someone telling you what the message of the painting is, then there's visual literacy. Okay? And not all people have that. They would say, oh, ang ganda naman ng painting. Pero anong ibig sabihin ng painting? Anong mensahe ng painting na yon? Like the works of Pablo Picasso. No? There are a lot of artists, Leonardo da Vinci. What is Mona Lisa trying to tell us? Okay? Is there a message of Mona Lisa? Meron bang message yung Last Supper ni Da Vinci? Or the Sistine Chapel overall? Anong message nito sa tao? Okay, so that is one demonstration of becoming visually literate. Also, when you're able to communicate using visual media, then that's visual literacy too. Like you know what graphs to use when you're writing your thesis and you are presenting the findings of your thesis of your study. Then instead of using text, then you will reinforce the text with charts, with tables, with scatter dot diagrams, and you know what diagram should you use, then that is effective communication because you know what to use. Okay, you know what media or what visual media would work best in presenting the findings of your study. Okay, when you're able to make a poster, when you're able to make a a cartoon or a comic strip, a drawing, that's visual literacy. Okay, that's visual literacy. All right. So there are several purposes of visuals. No, the first purpose is it provides a concrete referent of ideas. Okay. Ibig sabihin nito ay kahit hindi nakikita or hindi totoong object yung nasa harapan mo, you can still understand the processes happening, okay, in that actual object because there is a visual media presented to you. Okay. For example, you can see here a a drawing of a heart, okay, a diagram of a human heart. So it tells us the parts of the human heart, where the blood goes in and goes out, so the inflow and the outflow of blood. So it gives us a reference, okay, that even without seeing an actual human heart, we understand and we know how the heart processes. So it gives us a reference of ideas. Okay, it gives us a reference of ideas without actually seeing the actual material. Okay. Number two, it makes abstract ideas concrete. So things that we cannot see, but because of a model, because of a visual media, we are able to see them. Okay. Like for example, have we seen Jupiter? Have we seen Saturn in real life? Have we been there in space? No, there are only few people who have been there, right? Who have seen Jupiter with their eyes, with their actual eyes, or Saturn with their actual eyes, or even other small objects like an atom. Okay, we cannot see an atom through using our naked eyes. No, we cannot see an atom using our naked eyes. But it is important that we know what atoms are. We know what the parts of an atom, the subatomic particles, how they work. Because we are matter. No, tayo matter. Katawan natin matter. The cells are examples of matter, and everything around us can be considered as matter. And it's important that we understand what builds up matter. Okay, and that's an atom. Even without knowing or even without seeing an actual atom, dahil di naman talaga natin makikita yan using our naked eye, a model or a visual media can represent this abstract idea. so that we'll not only depend on the words that we read, but there are pictures that would show us how an atom looks like. Okay? So it's important that you know that, because when you're teaching, you have to have a representation of what you're teaching them. Okay, what you're teaching them. Say you're teaching about art, like the Baroque period, the Classical period, the Byzantine period. Anong mga pagkakaiba ng mga work of arts ng mga periods na ito? So instead of just telling them, okay, this and that, the Baroque period is more dramatic or the more structural, things like those. Eh, anong ibig mong sabihin ng dramatic? So it's nice that we give them a sample of a Baroque art so that they could compare the Baroque art to a classical art, things like those. Okay. Number 3, it motivates learners. Remember, some learners are visual learners. Okay, some learners are visual learners. They tend to be motivated when they can see something. Okay, like examples when they're reading handouts, di ba? May mga teachers katulad ko, yung mga handouts na binibigay ko sa inyo, saan kayo mas interested? Yung mga may pictures na handouts o yung mga handouts na walang pictures, di ba? It's boring when you're just reading text. But if there are tables presented, may mga summary tables, may mga pictures ka nakikita, may mga diagrams ka nakikita, it could actually motivate you to read more because when you see the picture, anong tungkol sa picture na ito? So you'll read the paragraph that would explain what the picture is all about. So that is how visual media can actually motivate learners. All right, it direct attention to important points using a flow chart. This is an example of a flow chart. Yung mga nawawala sa direksyon, yung mga nawawala sa kung ano bang dapat nilang ginagawa o gagawin, no? In science, for example, in science, one of the mostly used strategies in teaching, especially in chemistry, physics, biology, is experimentation. And instead of telling your students what to do, give them a chart. Give them a flow chart that would illustrate the procedures they have to follow when they're doing an experiment. Diba? So napakagandang strategy ng gano'n. Pati sa inyo, no? Pag nagpapa-activity kayo sa mga bata, kung magtuturo man kayo, instead of telling them orally anong instructions mo, anong gagawin nila from this point to another point, pagkatapos ito, anong gagawin, give them a chart, give them a flow chart so that they would discover to themselves the procedures that you are trying to let them do in your class. And that would give them, a sense of autonomy of their learning. You'll teach them taking responsibility of their learning instead of you telling them all the things that they have to do. Okay. Number 5, they repeat information. And this is a very good purpose of visuals, no? Dahil hindi mo kailangan paulit-ulit na sabihin sa bata kung anong dinidiscuss mo. But because you have a visual media available, only by seeing that visual media, by looking at the visual media, they can already recall what you just have said to them. Say for example, this water cycle, okay, the evaporation, the condensation, and when the vapor on air gets cooled, gets are in a place where there is a cooler temperature, it can go down. So yung air or gas will be transformed into water through precipitation. Yun. So nakikita natin dito yung water cycle that goes on and on again. So even without me telling you what this is, you will understand. You will know what evaporation is. You will know what condensation is. You will know precipitation is because you can already see it there in the visual. So even without explanations, even without me telling it. So nakikita mo at paulit-ulit nare-remind ka na ito ang evaporation, ito ang condensation, ito ang precipitation. Okay? And they recall prior learning, no? Visuals can be aids for students to recall prior learning. Halimbawa, itong concept map na nakikita niyo sa taas, visuals can be used to remember previous learning. Halimbawa nito, pag nag-lesson plan kayo, okay, one strategy that teachers use, especially in the generalization part, okay, dun sa nagsasummarize ka na ng lesson mo, na-discuss mo na yung lesson mo, na-present mo na yung lesson mo, ang gagawin mo na is to concretize their learning, to concretize their understanding. And how can you do that? You can do that using a concept map, using an advanced organizer, or using a graphic organizer. So yung lahat ng lessons mo, lahat ng key ideas or key points, okay, na diniscuss mo dun sa lesson mo, andun na siya sa concept map. Okay? Na isang tingin mo lang, andun na yung mga diniscuss mo. Okay, pero hindi lahat ilalagay mo dyan. Siyempre yung main ideas lang, yung keywords lang. Okay, halimbawa, nag-discuss ka about physical fitness. So what is health? There are two types of physical fitness, health-related, skill-related. Tapos ano yung iba't ibang klase under health-related tsaka skill-related? You can use graphic organizers for that particular matter. Okay, and that would actually help your learners easily recall what they have learned. All right, they reduce learning effort. Tama yan. Instead of just, reading the text, present the table, and that's it. Diba? They can visualize what you are trying to mention to them. All right, so there are several categories of visuals. No, there are 8 actually. Realistic visuals, mnemonic visuals, analogical visuals, organizational visuals, relational visuals, transformational visuals, interpretive, and decorative. Why are we learning this again? Because I want to see these visuals in your lesson plan. Okay, I want to see these visuals in your lesson plan. Hindi ko kayo paggagamitan ng PowerPoint, ha? Ang PowerPoint at ibang electronic technologies sa EdTech 2 yan. Sa EdTech 2 yan. Pero pagdating dito sa EdTech 1 natin, I will be focusing on using backyard technologies. Kasi pag kayo ay nag-demo, pag kayo ay nasa isang eskwelahan, huwag nating asahan na lahat ng eskwelahan ay may computer, may telebisyon sa loob ng classroom, may internet, may projector. Hindi sa lahat ng pagkakataon ay present itong mga devices na ito sa ating mga classroom. So it is important that you still know how to use this kind of instructional materials, the traditional ones, the old school, cartolina, Manila paper, blackboard. It's okay that we use PowerPoint too, okay? Pwede ko kayong panuhin dyan, pero yung focus talaga natin is on using traditional media, okay? Traditional media. So what are realistic visuals? Realistic visuals from the word real. They show actual object under study. So if you brought a basketball, an actual basketball, when you're teaching basketball, that's a realistic visual. Okay, you're teaching basketball, you're teaching volleyball, you brought an actual volleyball, that's a realistic visual. You're teaching about the parts of a chicken or the parts of a flower, you brought an actual flower on an actual chicken, that's a realistic visual. All right. So what about mnemonic visuals? Mnemonic visuals are visuals that could present patterns of letters or ideas associations that will help our students remember something. An example of this is this one. Every good boy deserves fudge. Okay. It could help us remember the sequence of solfeggio. Diba? Yung C, D, E, F, G. C is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, back to D, back to C, do. So, yun yung naitutulong sa atin para ma-memorize natin ng mas maigi. Okay, halimbawa pa nito yung Capacophagus or King Philip ordered whatever yung kingdom, phylum, order, ganun sa biology. I'm not really I don't know it pero naririnig ko sa mga classmates ko. But my mnemonics for that topic is Capacophagus lang. Capacophagus. K P C O F G S, okay? But we have also in electromagnetic waves, meron kaming mnemonic dyan eh. Real men inevitably visit ugly ex-girlfriend. Diba? Real men inevitably visit ugly ex-girlfriend. So real is radio wave, men is microwave, visit is visible light, okay? Ugly is ultraviolet, then X is X-ray, and then girlfriend is gamma ray. So yun yung aming mnemonic. So anything that would help us, recall information, we call them as mnemonic visuals. Now, what are analogical visuals naman? Analogical visuals put two ideas or materials side by side so that there is a point of comparison between the two. Halimbawa, ito, di ba? This is comparing the Earth's surface to a pear, okay? A pear, okay? Yung ano ba ang pear? Peras, okay? So the crust is analogous to the skin. The mantle is analogous to the inner peach, and then the core is analogous to the seed or to the pith of the pear. So we call this analogical visual. So when you're presenting two ideas side by side, so that students will be able to point the comparison or compare and contrast to materials or objects. Now, ano naman ang organizational visual? They show qualitative relationships, okay? I repeat, no, they are qualitative relationships like flowcharts, graph, or classification charts. Anong halimbawa nito? Ito, this is a organizational visual. It organizes the different taxonomy in biology of living things like kingdom, phylum, class, order, fad. This is sabi ko kanina, kapaka-fajas. Okay? So kingdom, phylum, qualitative relationships, qualitative relationships. Ang kabaligtaran ng organizational visual ay relational visual. Relational visuals communicate quantitative relationships. I repeat, quantitative relationships. Kadalasan yung mga pie graph natin, bar graph natin, line graph natin, they communicate quantitative relationships and we call them relational visuals. Ito, halimbawa niyan, that's a pie graph. Ang transformational visual naman, from the word itself, transformation, it illustrates movement or change or transformation from one state to another. Okay? Transformational visual. A very good example of that is this. Okay? Yung ating water cycle. From liquid to gas, from gas to liquid, and so on and so forth. We call that transformational visual. Marami kayong topic sa MAPE na pwede nyong gamitan ng transformational visual. Halimbawa, sa health, di ba? Yung spread ng virus, kumbaga, pwede nyo gamitan ng transformational visual yan. We have interpretive visuals too when we are trying to illustrate those that are abstract. Okay, when we're illustrating abstract theories or abstract ideas, ang tawag natin doon ay interpretive visuals. Halimbawa niyan ito. Okay? You may not understand this because this is a theory in physics. No? It's called zeroth law of thermodynamics. If system A is in contact with system B, at one point they will have the same temperature. And if system B is in contact with system C, in thermal contact with system C, then at one point they will also have the same temperature. In other words, all these systems will have the same temperature at one specific point of time. And when that happens, we call that thermal equilibrium. Right? So you see, if you have not seen this image, and I was just telling you about the zeroth law of thermodynamics is when system A is system B, system C, that's very hard for you to visualize. But with the help of this visualization, this visual media, you can easily grasp what I just have mentioned about the zeroth law of thermodynamics. Okay. The last type of visual is decorative visual. Ang mga decorative visuals naman, ito yung mga visuals na pang-decorate lang. Wala namang kinalaman dun sa pinapahiwatig mong mensahe sa mga bata. But they just bring some spice, eye candy para sa mga mata natin. Halimbawa, ito, ano bang kinalaman ng flower, anong bouquet ng flower sa sinasabi natin about autonomy of learning? So, you see, these are just only decorations. So, we call them as decorative visuals. Okay? So, those are the different types of visual media. Now, before we proceed to the other part of the lesson, can you please think of a lesson in your field of specialization and suggest what kind of visual media will you use to deliver the information about that lesson? Anyone? Anyone, please? Anyone from the class? I would call na lang. What about, may I ask, Jamaica, can you answer my question?
Sir?
Yes. Yeah, can you think of a certain topic in your field of specialization in music, arts, or in health, and then share to us how will you use visual media
Sir,
teaching that?
for me, sir, is dance.
Okay, anong gagamitin mong visual media?
Video, sir.
Yeah, video. doon sa 8 types of visual media na sinabi ko kanina, what can you use there? Ah. Ryan, you want to
Social
add?
media, sir.
What?
Social media.
What again? I think Jamaica has a problem in her internet. Let's ask Ryan. Ryan, do you have an idea?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Sa
proceed.
dance po,
What can you use?
let's say transformational media po, yung how to execute specific steps po,
Okay.
or
Yes.
maybe sports sa sports po, either
Tama.
sa sports.
Yes,
Yes po.
transformational visual. So the students will have visual images of how you shift from left to right or from right to left, or how you will shake your shoulders or your hips or whatever that is, diba? So, we could do that. Okay, we could do that. And isa yun sa ipapagawa ko sa inyo, di ba? Sabi ko nga, isa sa requirement nyo ay handout. Okay? So kung ang na-assign na topic sa inyo ay dance, kailangan kayong gumawa ng handout utilizing visual media para sa activity sheets nila at saka yung learning material nila, yung reading material nila. Okay? So that's it for that, no? Now, let us continue with non-projected visuals. All right. So what are non-projected visuals? Now, itong mga non-projected visuals, ito yung visuals na hindi na-project sa screen. Okay? Hindi ito na-project sa screen. Ang projected visuals, on the other hand, ito yung ginagamitan natin ng projector. Okay? Your assignment is to know the different types of projectors. Your assignment is search on the different types of projectors. Lalabas yan sa quiz niyo. Ano yung slide projector? Ano yung overhead projector? DLP? LED projector, meron ding document scanner. So please do, okay, kung anong pagkakaiba ng mga yan. May opaque projector din, so on and so forth, okay? But anyway, let's proceed with non-projected visuals. Now, when we talk about non-projected visuals, people, these are visuals that cannot be projected on screen. And generally, there are different types. Meron tayong contrived experiences. Ang contrived experiences are, as I have mentioned, they are representations of reality. They may not be actually the real thing, but they could present to us in the best way the reality, okay? It could replicate reality. And one type of contrived experience is realia, okay? Realia. Tinawag siyang realia kasi nga real, okay? Tinawag siyang realia because it is something real. But not in the sense na real talaga. Pwedeng yung actual object, pwedeng yung real object talaga, pero pwede rin yung specimen, pwede ring replica lamang. So hindi kinakailangan yung actual object. Ang realia ay hindi laging totoo. Pwede siyang specimen, pwede rin siyang replica. Okay? So halimbawa niyan ay ito. Okay? Realias can be modified through cutaways, specimens, or exhibits. So kung nagdala ka ng manok sa classroom, that is a realia. Okay? Nagdala ka ng preserved na manok sa classroom, that is a realia but in a form of a specimen. Okay? In a form of a specimen. Okay? Ano naman ang cutaway? Ang cutaway, ito, nakikita niyo to? So this is an actual car, pero nabuksan yung ibang parts para makita ng bata kung anong nasa loob. We call that cutaway. So some parts are cut. Okay? Some parts are cut so that you would see what's inside the object. Okay? And specimens are preserved animals. O kaya nagdala ka ng plant, tapos yung leaf lang yan dinala mo, that's a specimen. Okay? Exhibits are, of course, displays of real objects. Okay? Displays of real objects. Or replicas too, or specimen, whatever. Okay? The second one is models. So models are representations of reality. They are three-dimensionals as opposed to two-dimensional objects. Okay, say for example, a map is a two-dimensional object, while a globe is a three-dimensional object. So magkaiba, di ba? A map is two-dimensional. A globe is three-dimensional, right? Okay, so magkaiba yung dalawang yun. Magkaiba yung dalawang yun. An example, Ito nakikita nyo, yan. Yung harap niya, 2-dimensional lang yan. Pero pag ginanyan ko, it becomes a 3-dimensional. Okay? So, yun ang pagkakaiba ng 2D tsaka 3D. It's only a plane for 2D. It's solid for 3D. So, ano ang iba't ibang klase ng models? Meron tayong solid model, meron tayong cutaway model, at meron din tayong construction models. Now, what are solid models? Ang solid models, hindi mo natatanggal yung parts, like this globe one, this globe here. Can you remove the parts of that globe? No, because it is a solid model. It is a solid model. Cutaway models naman, yung natatanggal mo, yung ibang parts niya para makita mo yung loob. Halimbawa ito. Yan, that's a cutaway model. Okay, tandaan nyo ha, that's a cutaway model. Ano naman yung construction models? Ang construction models naman, wala kasi ang picture dito, pero mukha siyang unfinished product. Halimbawa, you want to show them how to weave a basket. So you'll leave there an unfinished basket para alam nila kung ano yung parts nung ginagamit mo, yung material sa paggawa ng basket, tapos saan sumusuot yung different parts ng basket. So it's like an unfinished model so that they would know how this particular object is constructed. Okay, kaya siya tinawag na construction model. Okay. When you're using real objects or models, there are guidelines to follow. Okay? Number one, you have to be familiar with the object. Hindi pwedeng pagpasok mo ng classroom, saka mo lang aalamin kung anong object ang gagamitin mo. O kaya naman paano gamitin ito. Diba nga? Nagdala ka ng part ng mock-up ng heart. Hindi mo alam kung paano gamitin. O, papahiya mo yung sarili mo. So you have to prepare yourself. You have to be familiar with the use or how to operate the model or the real object. Okay? Number two, practice. Okay, hindi mo pa alam, practice how to use it. Real objects must be large, okay, enough to be seen by the class. Okay? Use a size indicator to avoid wrong impressions. Halimbawa, gusto mong ipakita sa kanila yung spoliarium ni Juan Luna sa National Museum. You know, if you look at that books, if you look at that images in Google, parang ang liit lang nung spoliarium ni Juan Luna. Pero when you go to the National Museum of Fine Arts, you will really see a very big spoliarium. So napakalaki niya, no? Siguro kasing taas ng 1 floor ng building. Mataas pa dun, okay? So look at that. Look at the grandness of the spoliarium. So maaaring makita ng bata na maliit lang siya. So you may use a reference. Okay, you may use a size indicator. Halimbawa, pag pumunta ka doon, nagpa-picture ka, i-reference mo yung sarili mo. So tabi ka doon sa painting so that they would know how big or how large an object is. Okay? Also, tatandaan nyo, do not pass the material from one student to another. That's not advisable. For example, ito yung aking material. Kunwari, ito yung material ko. What you wanna do is show them at front, tapos punta ka sa middle ng classroom mo, punta ka sa gitna, then let them see the object. Tapos dun sa likod naman. So move around. Ikaw yung mag-move. Hindi yung material ang mag-move from one student to another. Why is that not advisable? Because it will take a lot of your time. Remember, you are only teaching for 45 to 1 hour, 45 minutes to 1 hour. And you don't want to spend that time for just the students to pass an object from one person to another. That's lame. Okay, that's lame. Number 3, mobiles. You know what mobiles are? Mobiles are like the things you see in playgrounds, in playpens of babies. Sa crib ng babies, yung nasa taas na gumagalaw, na nakasabit, we call them mobiles. Okay? This type of materials are used for, for elementary pupils or for kindergarten preschoolers because they're fun, diba? They're fun, they're exciting, no? They are eye candy for children, and they move. So that's why they are called mobiles, because they move. Okay, they move. All right. We also have still pictures and graphics. Okay. What are still pictures? Well, mayroon tayong tatlong klase. Mayroon tayong tinatawag na drawing, may sketch, at saka may diagram. Anong pagkakaiba ng tatlong ito? Let's look at this. This is an example. Itong nasa taas, yung colored one, that's the drawing. That's the drawing. This one naman, this is a sketch. So it's like an unfinished drawing. So yung outline lang niya nakikita mo. It's called a sketch. Okay? Another example of a sketch is this one. Okay? Ano naman ang diagram? Ano naman ang diagram? Pag nilagyan mo na ng label yung drawing mo, that's already a diagram. Okay? I repeat, when there are labels already, there are words you have put in the drawing, that's already a diagram. So without the labels, it's just a drawing. Without the color, it's an outline only of the object, it's a sketch. Okay? It's a sketch. Unfinished drawing. It's a rough draft, kumbaga. All right, so let's now proceed with charts. So that's contrived experiences yung una natin. Meron tayong realias, meron tayong models, meron tayong mobiles, meron tayong still graphics in the form of drawings, sketches, and diagrams. Ano naman ang charts? Ang charts naman, they are intended to summarize, compare, or contrast or performing other helpful services in explaining the subject matter. And there are many types of charts. Meron tayong organizational chart. So ginagamit ito pagka gusto mong i-summarize kung sino ang nasa posisyon sa isang organization. So yung officers nyo, kunwari, that's an organizational chart. Meron din tayong classification chart. Well, this one is a classification chart. Ano bang halimbawa ng classification chart? Yung omnivores, herbivores, ano pa yung ibang vores? Omnivore, herbivore, carnivore. So para makita mo anong classification nung animal na to, mga ganung bagay. So classification chart, this is an example because we are classifying the experiences that teachers can actually implement in their class. So na-classify itong text pictures as to abstract, complete, or maybe information for cognitive skills, for motor skills, or attitudes. Then we have timeline. You use this for history, right? If you are fixing or organizing events from the earliest event to the latest event. So that's a timeline. Flow chart for procedures. So when you're doing an experiment, your students can follow a flow chart so that you will not say the same things again to them. Give them the flow chart, give them the instructions, and that's where they will be using. Tabular chart. Tabular, ito. This is an example of a tabular chart. When you're doing your thesis and you're presenting your data, you can use tables. Okay, you can use tables. Now, graphs, on the other hand, are representations of numerical data. Tandaan nyo yan, ha? Graphs, on the other hand, are numerical or representation of numerical data. And there are different types of graphs. One, this is a bar graph. Okay, bar graph siya kasi nga, ayan, may bars, okay? This is a pictograph. Okay, this is a pictograph. Bakit siya pictograph? Kasi gumagamit ng pictures. This is a pie graph because it's a pie. It looks like a pie. And this is a line graph. So dapat as early as old as you are, no? Dapat alam nyo kung paano mag-interpret ng mga graphs. Okay? May quiz kayo about that, no? Interpreting graphs, kasama sa quiz nyo yan. And also we have posters. Okay, posters are visual combinations of images, lines, colors, and words. So ito naman, hindi ito yung poster making na katulad ng ginagawa sa poster making contest. Ang posters na sinasabi natin, para siyang marketing material para sa isang product o kaya isang event. Poster ang tawag natin doon. Okay? Anong halimbawa niyan? Ito. Yan. This is a poster. Another example of a poster, and another example of a poster. So you are combining words, combining images and shapes to send a particular message. Cartoons, you know what cartoons are? It is the most common and popular visual to learners, especially in the elementary grades. These are rough caricature of real people, animals, and events, and cartoons appeal very well to learners of all ages. Halimbawa nito, yan. Cartoons, comic strips. Okay. All right. So those are the different types of visuals and non-projected visuals that you can implement in your class. Okay. Now, sa Microsoft Word, guys, you can actually explore different types of visual media or graphic organizers using Microsoft Word. And where can you see that? You just go to your Microsoft Word and then dun sa ribbon sa taas, click mo yung insert. And then smart art. Smart art. And then sa smart art, makikita mo na yung different types of graphic organizers that you can use in the class. Diba? So these are formats already, templates that you can use para sa inyong lesson plan o kaya naman sa inyong handout. Pwede din yun. Diba? So halimbawa, relationship. Ayan, let's talk about relationship. Oh, ito, this is a funnel diagram. Okay, we call this a funnel diagram. By the way, no, tawag dito ay mga advanced organizers or graphic organizers. Funnel diagram, so ano ang ingredients kunwari ng healthy diet kunwari o ng ano yung 4 macromolecules sa katawan natin, carbs, proteins. Ano pa? What are the other 4 macromolecules in the body? Studied this in health, right? Lipids. Ano pa? What else? What's the other one? Hindi nyo alam? My God. Nucleic acids. Ay, sorry. There should be another one. Mag-copy tayo. CV. Ay, hindi na makikita yung isang graphic. So, hanggang 3 lang siya.
Sir, dun sa may add bullets po, sir.
Saan? Ito?
Yes po.
Wala din eh.
Dito, sir. Dito sa may taas, sir. Sa taas. Sa baba ng home, ganun po.
Sa baba ng?
Home, sir.
Ito, home.
Ito yung sa baba niya, sir. Hindi, sir. Kanina. Balik dun sa insert po.
Okay.
Dun sa design, sir. Sa design po.
Yan. Saan dito?
Click mo yung
This works noon eh. Pag ginanyan ko lang eh, mag-a-add siya.
Ayan,
yun eh.
ayan, sir. Dito na po. Yung add bullet, sir.
Add bullet.
Dito sa create graphic.
Oh, ayaw niya rin.
Yes.
It does not show. Parang hanggang 3 lang siya. Oh. Anyway, so nucleic acids yung last. So these are the 4 macro molecules. Diba? So if this is your topic for the day, then this could be your generalization, no? Pwede mo i-present sa kanila yung diagram na to so that they will have an overall idea kung ano ba yung sinasabi mo sa kanila. Okay? There are other forms of graphic organizers and that you can see in the internet, napakarami niyan. Pwede yung gawan ng inspiration or kunan ng inspiration yung mga organizers na yan. So sa internet, you can see several examples of advanced organizers. So, can show you one. Ito, this one. This is an example of different organizers you can use in your class. See this? Okay, so we have, yan, diba? Circle map, tree map, bubble map, double map. So ito yung mga gusto ko makita pagka gagawa na kayo ng handout niyo. Okay, so based on a certain learning competency. Hindi lang puro text yung reading material, pero may nakikita akong graphics or visual media doon sa reading material na gagawin niyo, na i-develop niyo. All right. So that's it for today. Okay, we end with that discussion. I would stop the recording now.